Today, I'm sitting down with Lea Black. Lea is a philanthropist, skincare expert, best-selling author, mother, wife, and the Real Housewives of Miami star. If you know me, you know I love me some Real Housewives, and Lea is one of the best. Lea is smart, a savvy businesswoman, and has her own amazing podcast and live show, Lunch with Lea Black. For over a year now, I've loved listening to Lea on SiriusXM's Jeff Lewis Live. And after hearing Jeff rave about her skincare products, I had to give them a try. A week later, I'd ordered her entire line. They're so good, they convinced me to give up my old trusty pharmacy bar of soap and moisturizer. I can't wait to interview Lea so you can hear her wisdom and insights and the no-nonsense straight talk she loves as much as I do. All right, you ready? Let's do it.
Welcome to the Zimmerman Podcast with your host, CEO, wedding professional, educator, and mom, Jessica Zimmerman. In just 2 years, Jessica went from facing bankruptcy to taking home a six-figure salary. She turned a business-saving $100,000 loan into a $1 million empire. As a creative entrepreneur, a healthy work-life balance seems just as unattainable as a six-figure income. But Jessica Zimmerman is here to show you it's possible. With the right tools and insider tips and some hard work, your craziest dreams can become your daily routine. If you set some boundaries and commit to healthy changes, you can create a business and a life you love. So let's make your business work for you.
We have to start where I first learned about you, and that's the Real Housewives of Miami. And I have to tell you, the thing that was so everyone was fun to watch on that show. But I immediately had respect for you when I saw the Black's annual gala, because as someone who's worked in the event industry for a decade, gosh, I know the work that goes into a good event.
Yeah.
And you worked on that event all year long, right?
Every year for 22 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the process and what that taught you?
Well, I had a background in sales and marketing, so it was probably easier for me than it might have been if someone had never been in sales and marketing. But, it was the most difficult part. In the beginning, I started in my house. I did it in my backyard, and we had about 300 or 400 people. When we outgrew that, we went to the country club, and outgrew that, we went to a hotel. And when we got into going to the hotels, then the price started getting higher because you have the expenses, related expenses to the hotels. So then we had to raise the ticket prices. But I think the most, in the beginning, I didn't have any talent. We just had a band play or a musician play or something like that. And then my big breakthrough was when I had Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees perform inside the ballroom in my house. And so what happened with that is we sold a dollar number for inside the house with the ballroom, and then everyone else was outside on the property with big video screens. So once I got Barry Gibb, made it easier for me to get other talent. And that's when we really started making bigger money because we could sell the tickets for a lot more. And that's when I was able to get, we got, I can't think of all the names, but we got Patti LaBelle, we got Natalie Cole, we got Aretha Franklin at the last one we did. We got Queen Latifah and Tony Bennett 1 year together when they first released that song of them doing it together. I was able to get Rick Ross and Flo Rida and Pharrell Williams and Pitbull, and we got just John Cicada. We got over and over and over, year after year, I was able to get talent. And most of the years, I only had to pay twice that I had to pay for the talent. I was able to get them to do it for free. So that was the hardest part, was locking down the talent. And then after that, of course, all the logistics. And that's a nightmare, keeping a lot of people that spend a lot of money on tickets happy. There's always someone complaining about something. So that became a challenge.
Absolutely. How many years did you do the gala before you got that big talent, that first big break?
Probably about maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think so many people think that those things should happen instantly, and they don't.
Yeah.
You really do
No.
have to work
No,
hard.
no. I mean, listen, I knew Barry, so getting him wasn't really hard, but I knew it was going to irritate a lot of people that I did it because a lot of people wanted to get him for their events. So finally I took the plunge one year and got him. And then after that, I had to just work my relationships. I mean, like I'm talking about work them and work them and work them. It take me months and weeks and years. I mean, sometimes it took 2 or 3 years before I should actually get somebody. But I just had to grind it out. And sometimes we would just start the gala and pray. And other times we would get a date that would work for the talent and then start the gala. So it was a lot, believe me, accommodating 700, 800 people in a ballroom in a fancy hotel where everybody's expecting VIP service and the top of everything. And everybody thinks they should be on the front row. And it was a lot. But, 22 years later, after Aretha Franklin, I just sort of decided, the fat lady sang and we're not going to do any better than this and I'm exhausted and let's just take a break. So I'm not saying we won't ever do it again, but that was the last one we did.
I cannot imagine being in the event industry for 22 years. Like, I just can't
I
imagine, and that
know.
is just such a huge event. Okay, so here's a question. How do you know, for example, so I have a book coming out in May, and I know a few celebrities, I know a few, but how do you decide? Like, for me, I think, gosh, I don't wanna ask them to do to promote my book, or how do you ride that line? How do you know, like, now it's time to make a call and asking for a favor? How do you do that?
It's not easy. Well, I remember, when I put my book out, I got Courtney Love. I was going to dinner with her one night. And so I just put the book in my handbag. And then I said, "Oh, I want to give you a copy of my book." And she opened it up and said, "Oh, this will be fun. I love a trashy novel." And I said, "Would you mind if I just photographed with you with it?" And she said, "Absolutely not." So once I had her photo, I just promoted her photo myself. I never asked her to do it. And then when you do it that way, sometimes if you know them well enough or whatever, you can send them the picture and say, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I just love it." And sometimes they'll just do it and they'll just post it.
Right.
So that's how I did it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book you're talking about is Red Carpet and White Lies, right?
Correct. It's just a trashy novel. In fact, page 6 said I was the next Jackie Collins because it was kind of a covert, camouflaged way of exposing certain characters that red carpets and white lies.
Yes. Goodness. Okay, so what was that process like for you with the book? Like, what was that? Because people don't know what a great businesswoman you are. You watch Real Housewives and you just see a housewife and having fun and everything. And then when I saw that gala, I mean, listen, there are housewives that do little charity things, but this was, I knew, I was like, no, this woman knows what she's doing.
Well, remember, with our gala too, we guaranteed that 100% of all the money went to the charity because we didn't. I had one person on staff, and that was Jason. And then I paid an event manager a very small amount, and every event planning company a very small amount to do the logistics, but every other dollar went to the cause. And I got sponsors to underwrite the expenses. So that was what also made it so hard. A lot of these charities pick up the phone. I need 300 centerpieces. I need, steak or chicken. I need some candles on the table. We got everything either donated free or got a sponsor to pay for it. So that was what really made it hard.
When you do something, and I'm not just saying this, I can just tell, you can tell that you are doing it to a level of excellence. Like, you're not going to put your name on it if it's not going to be done well. And so when you got the opportunity to write the book, like, what was that whole process like?
For years I had written columns and articles and editorials I wrote for the Huffington Post. I wrote some political op-eds. I wrote for some magazines. I interviewed people like, Ted Kennedy and the guy that started Air America and what was his name? Mike Wallace. So I'm kind of a natural writer. It comes very easy for me to write. And so one night I was at dinner with this book publisher agent. No, it was an agent in LA. And I remember I was at Coy on La Cienega. And I just started telling him stories about Miami. We were just gossiping. And he said, "Oh my God, you should write a book." And I said, "Well, I'd never be able to eat in that town again, which is a play on the word of the book. You'll never eat in this town again if I wrote if I wrote the book of everything I know, I said I would definitely have to camouflage the characters. And he said, well, you should be like Jackie Collins then. And I laughed about it. And then he said, no, I'm serious. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to write a damn book. So
Why not?
at that time I had a BlackBerry and I wrote the whole thing on my BlackBerry because I would write
You're
it.
kidding.
No, because I'm not one to sit at a computer. So I would write it in my car or at a stoplight. I would write it waiting for the dentist office. I would write it waiting at my kid's school. I would just write it wherever I was at the time. I just wrote out the book. And then I hired an editor to just clean it up. And he just cleaned it up. He basically made sure that the chapters were divided properly and there weren't a bunch of grammar mistakes in it. And I sent it off to this, I sent it off to this agent and she was like, oh my God, this is fabulous. And so then I just got the Buford books, printed it, and it did very well. And then they wanted me to do 2 more books, but then I got lazy and I never did. I'm still thinking about doing one, but I was thinking about doing one about the behind the scenes of the Real Housewives and camouflaging those characters and really exposing who and what and the ridiculousness
Oh my
that
gosh,
went
you
on.
totally should. You totally should. It
Well,
would do so
I
well.
really was thinking about it. And then Jeff Lewis said, if I were you, I don't think I would do that because you'll never get on television again. I was like, well, I'm probably never going to be on TV again anyway. So what difference does it make? But I kind of got lazy.
I cannot tell you how much. I mean, I'm totally skipping around, but you brought him up, so I
Yeah.
love you on his show.
Yeah.
And so I first learned about you from Real Housewives, and then I would just. I really like, there's just people that you're like, man, that's a fascinating life. Like your life is fascinating. So you grew up in Texas, and we'll
Yeah.
get back to Jeff in a second, which I think is fascinating that you grew up in Texas. I have grown up in Arkansas, and I feel that I, I don't want to say 100% because, but Brian and I have talked, my husband and I have talked quite a bit lately about moving to California or just, to a bigger city and to, get some more experience and stuff. And I don't know, we just feel ready, to do that. I've
Yeah.
been
You
ready
feel
since
like
I was.
you've sort of outgrown your environment a little
Yes,
bit.
yes,
Yeah.
and I hate saying it that way, but that's
Yeah.
just the truth.
Yeah.
You're right.
But a lot
And
of people love the small town. Listen, all my relatives are still in Texas, and I couldn't pay them enough to move out. And so they're happy there. But then, sometimes you just outgrow an environment because you want a little more than what's available in that area. And it's not anything. It's nothing critical of where you are. It's just that they don't maybe. I mean, listen, a big city is going to offer more than a small city if you want in business, for example, in terms of relationships. A small city is probably going to offer more. It depends on what you
yeah.
want.
Everyone I work with now just about is in California. Like everyone who I'm doing this book with is in California. And anyway, I was there I think 8 times in 2019 traveling for work and speaking and all of that. And so but I think it's fascinating. So you grew up in Texas and then where did you meet? Did you move to Miami and then meet Roy or
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and then I immediately went to Houston, and I taught dance lessons at Fred Astaire and went to school part time. And then after
God,
then
you're
when
right.
I know
You're
it's
right.
just
This is
insane. I
incredible.
know, and then I can't even remember what I did. I did Fred Astaire, and then I went to school, and then I got into the skincare business, and that took me traveling here and there. And then I decided to do it on my own. And then I set up an office in Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, and I did it out of there for a few years. And then I set up an office in Miami because I wanted to be a gateway for Central and South America. And then I started selling in Central and South America. And then I started basing out of Miami. And then once basing out of Miami, I decided to live in Palm Beach because I was traveling so much in Palm Beach. I was living on the water there was just fabulous. And it was a little more, I don't know, it was just peaceful. So I had the office in Miami, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and then San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I based out of Miami, out of Palm Beach for a while. And that's when I got called on the jury, which was sequestered. And then after the jury, about a year later, I ran into Roy at the Colonnade Hotel when they had the Hurricane Andrew because there was no electricity anywhere. And anyone that was anybody went to the only hotel that had water and electricity. And I ran into him there. That's how I met him. Personally met him after the trial.
Uh-huh. And so, if you were but you were already doing your own thing. You already were having your business
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing
I
your own
had the
thing.
skincare company since 1984, I think it was. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about your skincare. Do you get annoyed when people are like, "Well, that's all Roy. Like, she didn't do any of that." Because you did establish yourself and make your own
Yeah.
money.
It really, I don't really, I hate to say this, it's really horrible, but one of my taglines was I care about a lot of things, but what others think of me isn't one of them. And honestly, I hate to say it, but it's kind of true. Now,
Mhm.
I care about people that I know and what they think of me because they know me. And I hope that, I'm worthy of them thinking good things about me. But as far as people I don't know, I mean, there's no reason for me to feel like I need to impress them. I just don't feel like, I don't know them. They don't know me. So their opinions just, it's a perception. So I just never really got under my skin. But, and Roy doesn't, listen, if I was bigger star than, whoever picks one, Lady Gaga, he could care less too. We just don't measure ourselves that way. I've never thought of myself as a celebrity. I've never thought of myself as a big deal. I've just always been the simple girl, like simple things. But, but, I've never done things for really, uh, the approval or to impress other people. Like if
Right.
I wear fabulous stuff, it's because I like it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah,
If
totally.
I buy the most expensive thing, it's because I like it. Otherwise, I'll just go to Target. I don't really care.
Right. And I think, oftentimes when you see strong marriages, that's what it is. It's the respect there is has been built from the beginning, and there really is a genuine appreciation and respect for each other,
Yeah, yeah.
and there is no jealousy. How long have y'all been married?
Probably 25 years ago, or guessing thereabouts. But
I don't I had to
I don't keep up with that either.
all last year I said my age. I thought I was one age, and my husband said, "Jessica, that's not how old you are." And I was like, I always thought that was crazy when my
Yeah,
parents would
yeah.
say they didn't know how old they were, they didn't know how long they'd been married, but I've officially gotten there. I don't
That's funny because remember when Elizabeth Warren, they started calling her Pocahontas, and I
Uh-huh.
was started laughing because I was like, if you grew up in Texas during that time period, everybody thought that you were an American Indian. Your grandparents said that to you.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
just thought you were, and so the fact that she thought she was, and her grandparents and her parents just reinforced that to me was so silly and irrelevant to be saying someone's lying about being American
Right.
Indian when she doesn't like it. Listen, she thought she was. Most people that grew up in Texas and Oklahoma thought that they were, and that's how I
Mhm.
feel about pretty much everything. It's just like, does it matter? If you don't celebrate your birthday, does it matter? Every day's your birthday. If you don't celebrate, every anniversary, does it matter? You're happy, you're married. I just think people worry about the wrong things sometimes.
Wanna know the first step to booking more clients? You've got to have a website, and not just any website, but a site built to book. If you're just starting your business, you're probably wondering how you can share about your work, gain clients, and start making money. The answer to all of these things is your website. When I first started my business, I didn't have the money to pay a professional brand expert to create the brand you see here today, but I didn't have to. I used the resources I had to invest in my business and create a brand that would attract the type of client I wanted to work with, supported by a website that was built to transform searching brides into lifelong clients. If you want a simple guide to how to create a site that books without having to invest thousands in a branding expert before you're ready, you need a winning website. To learn more, go to zimmermanpodcast.com/website. That's zimmermanpodcast.com/website. Okay, last question about Real Housewives. So when that opportunity came along, did like some people, Bethany Frankel's been very clear that she got into that for business. Some people are obviously the paycheck is nice. What was that like? How did that get brought to you? What was that conversation like with you and Roy? And what made you say yes to it?
Well, originally I didn't. I said no, but I know a lot of people that would be good for it when the producers came to me. And I started giving them people to interview and setting up stuff. And finally, one day, they said, well, do you have any place we could do it? And that was before I had the office downtown. I said, well, you can interview them at my house. So then, of course, everyone I recommended sat there and wouldn't say anything. So I started interviewing them to get them to talk. And the producers were like, you have to do the show. You have to just film a little bit, just a little bit. And I just thought it wasn't for me, but I had never watched the Housewife show, so I didn't even really know what it was. And then I started filming a little bit to get this one girl on the show primarily, and it turned out backstabbing me after
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I already know. I already know what you're talking about.
And then finally, I just, it was like they're like, we really need you, and Bravo wants like a established, socialite or business person or
You were that whole
something.
show. Can I just say it? You were that whole show.
Oh
I
my
mean, there was
God. I don't think
Rita.
anyone else would agree with you, but so I just said, oh, what the hell, I'll do it. And so I signed up to do it. And I remember Ingrid Caceres was like, Madonna said, don't do it. And then later she came back and said, no, you should just go ahead and do it. And I said, oh, I'll just do. Oh, I know what happened. I talked to this other girl that was a housewife in New York that was no longer on the show anymore. And she gave me 100 reasons why not to do it and how horrible it was and how she had to pay money to get out of her contract and all this stuff. Then I found out later she was begging to get back on the show. And it just irritated me. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let somebody. So I just did it. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I did it. And then after I did it, I watched one show, and it happened to be the one where Teresa flipped the table. And then I said, what I really got myself into. And I made a decision right then and there that I would do the show. It was going to be exactly who I was. I wasn't going to fake anything. And I was never going to do anything that would embarrass me, myself, or my husband, or my kid who's now 18, that would never embarrass him now or down the road. So I always never put myself out there in a way that would embarrass anybody that knew me. So that was my only standard that I kept. But the truth is, I live that way anyway. So that wasn't a big deal. It's just I was very aware of the fact that they push your buttons and they try to, get you to react. And I just wasn't going to take the bait. Other than that, everything about the show, was very, I didn't even think about the cameras. I just went on about my life.
Well, gosh, you were so enjoyable to watch. It was
Well,
so fun.
thank
Your whole life
you.
was just fabulous. It was such a good escape. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
us, it was just like,
Well,
oh, how
that's
fun is that?
kind of why I did it, because I thought, I'll promote the charity a little bit and it'll just be something fun to do. I didn't realize how big the franchise was and how many people watched it and what a big deal it was when I signed on. I really thought it was like kind of a little local reality show. I didn't really get it.
What's fascinating, and Jeff points this out a lot on his show, is the audience is smart business people. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not. I don't know. It was
It's a
just fun to watch.
guilty pleasure.
It
It's just a
is. It
guilty
is.
pleasure. Yeah.
What do you think the difference is between being, well known in your community and then being nationally known? Like, was that an overnight thing?
See,
Was
that's
that
why it didn't really affect me, because of the charity, because of my husband already being high profile, because how many years we lived here, everybody knows who we are. I mean, everybody. So for me, all of a sudden, everybody knew who I was nationally. It was like, so it's like even when I did my skincare seminars all over the world, they knew when I went to Indonesia and thousands of women would show up, they knew who I was. When I would go to Puerto Rico and hundreds would show up, they knew who I was. So for me, being recognized and people knowing who I was, it just didn't affect me. It still doesn't affect me. I go out of my way when someone comes up and introduces themselves or wants to meet me or get a photo. I go out of my way, not because of my ego or it makes me feel good, because the truth is, to me, it's just another day. I do it because I know how much courage it takes for them to come up and do it, and I don't want to make them feel bad about it. And if it makes their day a little happier that they have a photo of an ex-housewife or something, it's not a big deal for me. That's why I do it. A lot of these girls do it because they really are like ET going to the light. They just have to have that attention. They have to feed that. They just have to have that attention. And once it's gone, they can't let it go. And that's I've never been that person.
hmm Yeah, I mean, you can tell. You can tell. Okay, so you were on Jeff Lewis's show, Flipping Out. And I have to say, because I teach people how to have profitable businesses, and one of my biggest modules in my program is talking about building a team. And I can't tell you how many times I want to scream at that television with Jeff and just be like, these are not the right people. And why are
Yeah,
you hiring
yeah,
this person? And so
yeah.
when you came in there and you did, which by the way, I just want to say too, that I feel like I understand that man. Like, I get it. I get why he's so passionate or why he gets upset. Like, I do understand him coming from, like, this level of excellence, but I also feel like, man, uh, you could be so much further along. You know what I mean? Like, it could be so
I
much.
have had that conversation with him 100 times. Like, I've said it 100 times. I
And I
know.
think it's because of the team, and so when you came in there
Yeah,
and you did that business seminar,
yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, mhm, she knows." Like, she gets like, this is a legit businesswoman.
But
Like,
he
you
holds
really do.
himself back. He gets in his own way, and part of that's because he has a really big heart and he gets kind of attached to people and takes them along for the ride. But also part of it is that he would prefer to work with somebody that he just really likes to hang out with more than someone that is 5 levels higher in expertise. So, but he enjoys it and he enjoys what he does. And, the people that don't get along with him don't last long. And the ones that get along with him last a long time.
Right, and I think too, and I'm not saying that he does this, I'm just saying in general, I had been in the event industry for a while, and then I was in this kind of online education world, and doing this book right now. I'm the dumbest person in the room, the dumbest person in the room, and it's been very humbling, but it's also been so. I was telling a friend the other day, I said, "I didn't really realize that for the past 5 years, I'd kinda surrounded myself by people who what I said goes." And, like, it was like, "Yes, I think you think that's a good idea? Yes, do it, Jessica." And it's really been such a growing experience to be around people who know so much more, than me about this, and for them to say, "Actually, I don't think that's a good idea." And it makes me stop and think, and I think it's really comforting to know all the answers, right? And then we go into a new field and we don't know the answers, and we're
Yeah.
like but it's been really fascinating. It really,
Well,
really has.
and the thing is, like, to me, I mean, I have to work with people I'm compatible with. I mean, forget it. If I'm not compatible with them, I don't care how smart they are. I don't want to know them. On the other hand, I just cannot deal with stupid people. That was one of my other taglines. I can deal with a lot of things, but I can't deal with stupid. So that I can't. I just can't. It pushes all my buttons, drives me crazy, and I won't do it. But I feel like your workforce should be like your real estate. You want your house to be the cheapest one in the neighborhood so it goes up in value. Well, I feel like I want the smartest people around me so that they elevate my success, not, drag it down. So that's just
Right.
one of my little philosophies of how I like to work.
I hope this episode is blowing your mind so far. For years, I hated Pinterest and I held a grudge for the clients it stole from me when it first came out on the scene. But believe me when I say, Pinterest has earned my forgiveness. Today, I do almost all of my marketing through Pinterest and I get inquiries from big budget, ideal clients every single week. If you want to start using Pinterest to get leads and money in the bank, you need the power of pinning. Check it out now at thepowerofpinning.com. Okay, so I want to talk about skincare because here's the thing. I feel like if there's one thing, like if somebody said, what is something that you are really good at? I feel like I'm really good at sales. I feel like I can sell things. And so I feel like I also know when people are being genuine and when they're doing those tricks, right? Those marketing, uh,
Yeah.
tricks
Yeah.
to sell something. And here's what I found out fascinating is that I was listening to Jeff Lewis live and he's talking about this CBD eye cream. And I also know that he's not going to lie about things. He doesn't want, I've heard him do live reads before. And as soon as he's done, he's like, I mean, who's going to buy that? And I'm just like, yes, you're going to get fired. Stop. But he kept coming in time and you weren't even on the show half the time. And he was still talking about this CBD eye cream. And I thought, what is so good about this eye cream? Then you come on one day, and this is what I found fascinating. You kind of barely talked about it. Like he talked about it, you kind of, and then you said something along the lines of, "Listen, it works, and people tell people that it works, and I don't that's why I don't even have to market it." And I thought, "She's exactly right." Like, I've never really heard her hawk her skincare line or anything like that. And then when
It's
you
funny, for
said
years, people didn't even know I was in the business,
right, right, and then when
but
you
go
said she had
ahead.
been doing it since 1980 something,
Yeah.
I thought, "Oh, like, this lady is like, she knows this stuff." And then you would just talk about it a little bit at a time, but almost as if you were like a skincare encyclopedia. Like, you knew all the terms, and I
Yeah.
thought, "Okay, this is legit, and I'm gonna try it." So I tried it, and I'm not kidding you. I tried that eye cream, and the next day, I was like, "I look 5 years younger because 'cause
That's
I'm
funny.
now at the age where I'm getting my Botox twice a year and stuff like that, and I just thought, "Oh my gosh, this looks like, how did she make that?" So then I immediately go back to your website and order everything. I order the face wash, I order the scrub, the exfoliant, I order the complete facial treatment, that sudden youth, the CBD serum and the moisture. I mean, I all of it. I've
Well,
ordered
I
all of it.
appreciate that.
I've spent I mean, I'm buying it every other month. I'm buying the whole
Well,
packet.
that's the one thing that you can tell if a product works, people reorder it. So I have never, honestly, I can say I've never really had a product that didn't work, but I mean, I've had a few that didn't sell that well over the years. But if they don't sell well and people don't reorder them, then you don't have a good product because your customers will tell you whether it works or not based on the reorders. And if you go to my Instagram and you look at the testimonials that um, we put them on every Tuesday. If you read these testimonials, these are all organic people I don't know, haven't met, haven't heard about. And the remarkable stories I've learned from them about what the products do that the lab would never say, that they would never make that claim. We didn't know they did those things. I've learned so much from these. I mean, if you read those, you'll just faint. I mean, everything from the puffs are gone to the circles are gone to the pores are smaller to this one woman said she'd had rosacea her whole life. I mean, acne claims we don't even make. So I know that the reorders tell me that the product works. That's basically what I go by.
Okay, so can we just start from the beginning with this? What made you want to go into skincare?
Well, I worked for a skincare company, kind of years ago in California, and I was really just good at it. But then when I quit working for it, I can't remember what I did after that, but I had this one thing my grandmother had always worked for her, and she never had wrinkles. She lived till she was like 97. I mean, she maybe had wrinkles at the end of her life, but she always had gorgeous skin. And she had taken albumin, which are egg whites, and mixed it with aloe vera gel and concocted this facial. And so the skincare company I worked for, it had a similar product, but I thought my grandmother's was better. So I just went to a lab and got top scientists. Actually, at that time, I was using the guy that developed a lot of the YSL products and top chemist, and developed this facial non-surgical facelift kit that after it took us 10 years to be able to fix it from having to mix the gel and the powder together to put on to have it pre-mixed in the tube. And one tube gets you like 8 to 10 facials. But it really did lift, tone, slough off the dead cells, tighten the skin, reduce the
It
pore
tightens it.
size. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And the results became accumulative and they started to build on each other. So I took that product everywhere from Switzerland to Europe to France to Italy to Canada to Puerto Rico to the Caribbean to Central and South America. I took that one skincare product all over. And then at one time, I had built my lineup to have 400 different products. I had skincare, hair care, nail care, nutrition, and every cosmetic thing available in every color. And when I sold that company, I said, if I ever get back into this, I'm just going to stick with skincare because it's just too much inventory, 400 products, and you have to have so much of everything. You buy 50,000 to get the price down, and it was just overwhelming. And the truth is, there are a lot of really great cosmetic products that you can get at the drugstore really cheap. The cosmetic products are not all that different. Like the same lab will make all the same pencils. Several few labs will make all the powders. So the real key was the skincare. So when I came after I decided to get back into the business, I launched the skincare line. And then for the last 3 to 4 years, I've been tracking, studying, researching, and developing the CBD with this guy in Northern Florida that's really pioneered the whole CBD movement in skin. And he has ingestibles, and I converted it to topicals. And so when I added the CBD to formulas, I mean, they just started flying off the shelf. So at that time, I just converted the entire line to the CBD line because they were selling 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1. I mean, the last time I've had anything that flew off the shelf and made as big of a instant, marketing movement was when I did the Sudden Youth Kit many years ago, the non-surgical facelift kit that I still sell now. But that one does not have the CBD in it because there's no benefit to CBD in it because you leave it on for 10 minutes, wash it off, and the CBD doesn't stay. The CBD, I don't have it in the wash or the exfoliant because those are products that just go on and off. But I have it in the serum, the moisturizer, the eye cream, and then the oil that we're coming out with that'll have 1,000 milligrams of CBD, which is remarkable. We've been doing focus groups and testing and doing R&D on that for over a year. And that product, we're going to launch it. We're hopefully going to get it in the next 60 days.
That's incredible. Well, I can't wait to get it. I'm going to order. So tell us, there's all this like buzz about CBD. What is it doing in skincare? Like, how is it helping?
That's a very good question because the claims that, that we make is just that it's what it really does. It connects the cells in a way that they self-generate and self-improve. So it's actually a catalyst for what taking you back to when you were like younger and had your cells doing their own work. But it has a lot of healing properties. It has a lot of soothing properties and nourishing properties. But I mean, it does a lot more than the labs and the chemists and the scientists will tell you that it does topically. Now, internally, I know they make a lot of claims about a lot of things it does, and I don't know about any of those. I don't vouch for any of those, but I have been taking it internally just for the fun of it. And I will say, I think you sleep better, you're calmer, and you feel better. And they say it has a lot of healing properties, but hemp is a miracle that the reason it hasn't been exploited really was because of the THC that's in it. And the THC, as you know, is marijuana, which is illegal in a lot of places. But once they passed the Farm Bill and they passed the laws that said that you could take this THC out of the hemp and just have the CBD cannabis without any of the THC hallucinogenics in it, that's when people started using it for skincare purposes. And so I was fortunate that I just got in on the ground floor of it because I always have my radar up for what the newest thing is. And so I think we have the most comprehensive skincare line of CBD and non-CBD and the non-surgical facelift kit. I think we have the most simple, easy to use, 1 minute in the morning, 2 minutes at night, exfoliate once or twice a week in the shower and put the mask on 10 minutes a week and you're done. And your skin actually will start to look like you reverse the aging process, whether it has or not. It gives the illusion. So I've just had nothing but positive results. Mm-hmm.
I would never say something that wasn't true. I mean, my audience knows I have only talked about one product ever before until this one.
Well, if your audience, if they want to buy anything, make sure when they go to leablack.com, if they put in the promo code podcast, because I have a weekly podcast called Lunch with Leah. It's where you get all your podcasts and it's on Facebook Live at noon every Wednesday. But if they put in the promo code podcast, they'll get a 50% discount on the CBD products in the line.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is so kind of you. Guys, you've got to go and you've got to try this out. And if you can only get one thing, I suggest the eye cream starting there because it's just, first of all, I think that there's so much care that goes into everything. I mean, I think about the packaging. I mean, not only do you have to skincare is so personal. Not only do you have to make sure it actually works, but then the thickness of something or the texture of something. So you're in on all of that. And then the packaging, and your packaging is done. They individually wrap them and put a sticker on them and there's a note and and I had one time, I'm not kidding you, one time, and guys, I've ordered a ton of this stuff. One time I had one lid or something. It was the moisturizer that, spins and it just wasn't it didn't work. And I knew that that wasn't y'all's fault, that was just
Right.
every now and then that's gonna happen. And I emailed, and I'm not kidding, within 30 minutes, Leah, I got the nicest email back saying that they were going to, mail me they had just put it in the mail. Not only that, but, 2 other products that they went and looked and saw that I purchased regularly. I mean,
Yeah.
just the customer service makes you makes you wanna just keep doing it.
Well, I'm going to give all that credit to Jason on the customer service and all the social media credit to James, minus my Twitter that I obsessively do myself. But they take I mean, we have a department of customer service and a shipping and receiving department that every order that comes in, we bless it, we give thanks for it, we look up the history of the customer, and we treat them like, honestly, like they're our only customer because if you make the customers happy and they get results, and that's why I have the podcast promo code for customers when I can promote it for the CBD line. If you give them a good price, you give them a good product, and they see results and they reorder, then you're building a customer base. And the real reason that I've done the skincare and I started doing the skincare is I like to empower women. I like women to look their best and feel their best. And it's why I did all the seminars for years all around the world about from 12 in the morning till 12 at night on Saturday and on Sunday. And they graduated Monday night. And we did everything from visualizing, setting goals, getting a prospect list, making a game plan, how to sell, how to overcome objections, how to promote for years and years and years. And the skincare was just a vehicle for that because the whole point was to empower women to live their best life and create a life that they loved and that worked for them. And the skincare was just a vehicle for that because it was a visual example of if you do all these things and take care of your skin, this is how you can look. And then that translates into everything else into your life.
That's the truth. Yeah, it really is. Well, I think, gosh, I just can't say enough good things about it. And I am a skeptical skincare person. I mean, skeptical. But this stuff, it just works. It does. And my face looks better. I have people who actually say to me, you look younger. Like, what have you been doing? Are you eating better? Are you, did you just have sex with someone? Like, I'm like, you look really good and just fresh and I think I've never been told that like I have been after using this skincare.
See, most people, they even if you cleanse your face well, if you don't slough off the old cells, you don't have that glow. And the exfoliant and the non-surgical facelift kit, which is the mask, those two things slough off the old cells. And the mask actually sucks out the impurities. It literally just sucks them out and helps to reduce the pore size. You only have to use that once or twice a week. But if you don't slough off the old cells, you could still have good skin, but you're never going to have, it's like hair when it shines. You either have dull hair or shiny hair. You're never going to have that facial glow that you're going to have if you slough off those old cells. So, I mean, if you're not using a good wash and you're not sloughing off those cells, you're not going to give your skin the best chance to slough off the old cells and generate the new cells. So that's one of the most important parts of it if you just want to look healthy and have great skin. And then the serum has the most concentrated amount of CBD, 250 milligrams, but the oil is going to have 1,000, which I think will be unheard of. I think will be the only person in the world that can have an ounce of something that has 1,000 milligrams of CBD. But who knows? Maybe somebody else will do better. But I just want to keep the customers happy. That's really the truth.
Yeah, totally. Now that oil, how do we use that? At night before we go to bed?
I use it in the morning, and then after I put it on, I wash my face and put it on right away. And then by the time I brush my teeth and get ready to start putting my makeup on, it assimilates very fast. It goes right in. So literally 30 seconds later, you can put your makeup on, but I leave it a few minutes longer. And then at night, I saturate my face with it. But it doesn't stay sticky, and it doesn't stay on your face isn't going to stick to the pillow. It literally assimilates very well. It's a fine molecular structure, and that makes all the difference too. I noticed when I started testing that oil over the summer in my Pilates class, everybody was going like, well, what are you doing different? And I kept telling everybody nothing. And then I realized one day the only thing different I have done in the last 2 months was this oil. So I guess it's making a difference.
So you tested out yourself
Of
before you.
course, along with a ton of other people with all different types of skin types. Yeah.
When is it going to be available? I want it now.
Probably we were talking about that today. We're getting the artwork done. We've got the packaging in. The formula's ready to go. So probably 6 weeks.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, now tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I I think just from my little bit of knowledge, so like I can tell that you know what you're talking about with skincare and that it works because I've seen the results. But like when I first got the exfoliant, I thought this is thinner than other exfoliant that I've used, but it works so well. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that's probably because all this other exfoliant that you would get, just at the grocery store or
Yeah.
something,
They have a
it's just
lot, a
not
lot
being
of fill in them. They have a lot of
it,
fill in them.
it's
Yeah.
not being made properly.
Yeah.
So I say that because I think people might go, oh, well, this isn't what I'm used to. No, it's
Yeah.
not going to be what you're used
But
to
if you
because it's going to
notice
be
it,
done right.
it slides and glides really easy.
I use it
And
every day. Is
yeah,
that a problem?
no, no.
Okay.
But like my teenage son, for example, he's addicted to that. He told me yesterday, "Mom, I love that," and now my roommate's using it. But that exfoliant, you can't really use it too much, as long as you're somewhat gentle with it. I mean, you don't want to scrub hard, but you don't want to scrub hard, period. But it just glides on and washes off easily, and it also has a moisturizing effect while you're using it. It's not a drying effect. So that's one of everybody likes it. That's one of Jeff's favorite. He always talks about the
I like
exfoliant.
that exfoliant. And even and then I think the other thing that if one of our listeners gets this, you may think, because I believe that the face wash, first of all, it's amazing. It's great. But when you first get it, you might think, oh, this is kind of thick. But what's wonderful is you just need a tiny bit and you put it under the water and then it thins it out a bit. And so it lasts forever.
Forever. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Because it's concentrated, because what you want to do is you want to you want to just be able to add water to it. So I could mix it up and add more water to it and sell it, and people would reorder much faster. But it's not fair to the customer, because there's no difference in me diluting it before I ship it to you than you diluting it once you get it. And then it lasts a lot longer. I mean, you have to always, I always look at everything in life has to have a solid foundation, has to be truthful, and it has to have integrity in it. And I just feel like if I dilute that product, then I'm basically cheating the customer. Same like with the exfoliant. If I made it glides on perfectly, and I could make it, thinner or thicker, but it glides on perfectly. It works perfect, and you're getting the longest use out of the product. So it lasts a longer. Like the oil, it's going to take, a few drops. I'm telling you, if I use 6 to 8 drops a day, and I use it everything, my chest, my neck, and my face, and the back of my hands, but it doesn't take a lot of it, because if it becomes too expensive for people, they're just not going to buy it. And what's the difference if I make that little bit of extra money, and if I keep the customers happy? It's just not worth it to me.
Right. You're exactly right. And then the oil, when it comes out, the CBD oil, or not the oil, what am I thinking of?
The oil.
The serum.
Oh,
When
the
it
serum.
comes,
Yeah.
it comes out and it's not perfectly clear. So don't panic when you see that. It goes on clear, obviously. But so what is that? Why are we seeing a color? Like because it could look almost dirty, but it isn't. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
Because
it's
the
way
natural
perfect.
color of hemp is a little bit, a little brown. It's like a tobacco a little bit.
Yes,
So
exactly.
we use the minimal amount of preservatives and additives in any product. So we could cover those raw ingredients with 1,000 different things that would make it whiter than white. But there's no point in it, because you're just loading up the product. People are getting less of the product and more of the preservatives and the additives and the rest of it. So if it has a little color to it, who cares? And sometimes I've noticed the color is a little darker than other times, because the hemp that it comes from, the natural plant, may be darker one batch than the next batch. So it grow. Not every plant grows the same color. So we just do the minimum additives, preservatives, and to cover, and we don't add a lot of fragrance. We don't. We just try not to add the fragrance, because people don't want to. Some people may not like it. People don't want to compete with their perfumes. A lot of people don't. They're sensitive to smell. So we just do the minimum and try to give you as much of the finest raw ingredient of a product and the active ingredient of the product that we can.
Right, and that's what it is, it's that raw ingredient, and I think that is why maybe if you are used to just getting things constantly over the counter and you get these, you might think, "Wait a minute, the serum I'm used to is clear.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be." Like, this is
Well, it can
actually
be. I mean, I used to sell a serum that was clear and it was great, but it didn't have CBD in it. So, there you go. So, I mean, listen, the true test will be after you use it a few days, if you notice a difference in your skin. Like my son's roommate, who's 18 in college, he was picking at his face every day. Every day had a little area that I could tell he had picked at too much. He had like kind of little tiny acne around the lower part of his face. And I said, and he had this dehumidifier in the room. He said, "I think my face is breaking out because of the humidity in Florida." And I said, "No, the humidity should actually be good for your skin." I said, "What kind of skincare?" So he shows me, I said, "I'm just going to bring you some." So I give 3 days later, I walk in the dorm and he goes, "I'm Mrs. Black. I don't have any blemishes. My face is cleared up and my skin feels so good." He goes, "I think it was dry because I kept adding the stuff to it to dry out my pimples." And I said, "Well, of course, because the more you dry your skin out, the more oil it's going to produce. And then when it overproduces the oil and clogs the pores, you're going to get the pimples." So now he doesn't have the dehumidifier anymore in the room and he's using my skincare. And he threw the one he was using out because it was also discoloring his towels and sheets. I bought him all new towels and sheets. I said, "Throw that out, throw all that junk out and just use this." He goes, "I'm going to have to start buying it from you." I go, "Well, as long as you're 18 and in college, I'll give it to you."
So nice. That's so nice. I love it. But yeah, there's probably a million stories like that, which are incredible. You guys you've got to try it out. I've been showing up publicly, teaching all my business secrets for years, all while leaving my biggest story untold. The story of how my family and I survived the illness that almost killed my husband, Brian. May 7th, 2020, I'm finally sharing our story with the world. If you want to be one of the first to read this never before told story, sign up for book updates at sleepingwithastranger.com. That's sleepingwithastranger.com. So I'm interested just for a second, just talking about skincare is one thing, just the product itself, but then you've got, the packaging and the customer service and all that. What do you think is the biggest hurdle that you've kind of had to uh, come across with launching a successful skincare line and now having a successful skincare line?
Well, I've done it for so many years that it's really, I've got it down to easy and a science. So the most challenging part of any business really is getting the customers. I mean, it really is. If you get the customers, you've got to get the customers. Otherwise, you have a bunch of products sitting on the shelf. And I'll tell you, Jeff was very generous with me by talking about it on the air. I got a lot of customers from there. I'll get customers like from your podcast. I get customers from my podcast. I get customers from word of mouth. I think most of our customers do come from word of mouth. They read about it on social media or something. But I think the hardest part of any business when you're in sales is getting the customers.
But once they try it and the kind of customer service that you have, that's why you have to treat every customer. I always say this with back when I was doing events, you have to treat the people who have a $2,000 budget just like you do the people who have 200,000 because you never know who these people know and who they're going to refer you to and everything. So yeah.
And by the way, it's so much easier to fill a reorder than to generate a new customer. So every time you get a reorder, I mean, give thanks that they love it. And every time I get a customer, we literally bless the product and give thanks for the new customer because I believe gratitude and being grateful is your multiplying power. Giving thanks multiplies, it gives you more of what you're giving thanks for. So we give so much thanks for every single customer. And seriously, I mean, we do treat them like gold because they are. I mean, that is the engine of any business is the sales. If the product isn't getting to the end consumer, you don't have a business.
You mentioned Jason, but how do you surround yourself with people who make your business better? Like what do you look for when building your team?
I'm pretty good at, I don't know, I guess I've just done it for so many years. I'm just pretty good at kind of weeding out the lazy, non productive, entitled people. So when I find someone that's really good, they never leave. Like the girl that runs the office in Texas has been with me since I was 20 years old. Jason's been around, I guess, 18 years. I mean, James, that does all the social media, I don't know, 4 or 5 years from the day he started. I doubt he'll go anywhere unless he gets $1 million job in New York somewhere. But Freda, my son's first nanny, which basically the only time I used her was from 7 in the morning until 11 o'clock, because that's when I got my really good sleep after being up all night with the baby. After he didn't need the nanny, and she was such a good person, and I didn't want to cut her loose. So now she pays my bills at the house and manages the house, and she's bilingual, and she kind of translates everything between the different people there. So she's been around 18 years. And I mean, the guy that sells my products internationally, I've known since the 3 months after I started my first company, because he took the products to Puerto Rico. He's still around. So I build the relationships and I keep them because I treat them really good. I don't ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. And I try to share when we're doing well, and then when we're not, then, we're not. But if we're doing extra well, I try to reward them, and I don't take them for granted. And I treat them, I let them have their own. Like, listen, if Jason doesn't come in on a Monday, I'm not going to complain, because I can guarantee he's going to get Heidi or James or somebody else to come in and fill for him. So I let them have the flexibility that they can actually enjoy their life and enjoy their job. And our office here is simply gorgeous. It's got 20-foot ceilings, and it's on the water, and it's all glass.
Is it
and
in
it's
Miami
all
or in
white.
California?
And it's in Miami, and we're sitting here looking at the boats go by. So, our work environment's nice, and it's very laid back. I mean, everybody here's got jeans on, including me,
Right.
and their boxes stacked everywhere.
Yes.
But, we have we also have the jewelry line, and then we have the handbag line, and the handbag line is doing very well, but I'm going to phase it out only because I just don't have room for the storage of it. And so all the handbags at leablack.com are on sale, or if they're not, you can email us at hello@leablack, and we're selling them basically at cost, because I have to close them out. They just take up too much space. And so, an eye cream takes up a very little space. A handbag takes a lot of space, and I just need the space. So I'm going to phase that out. And so I'm selling them basically at actually probably below cost, just to make room, because I don't want to open up another space right now. So, we try to, like in the beginning, we did the gorgeous costume jewelry and the handbags, and I love doing it. But the skincare is like, you can't beat everything to everybody. So we're just going to focus on that the next couple of years.
Right. Do you ever feel like with that you spread yourself too thin, or that you're involved in so many amazing projects? Like, is it ever a struggle for you to be all in,
No, it used to be when I did the charity, it was a lot. And when I had the charity and the show and writing the book and the business and my son and my husband all at one time. It was a struggle. Now my son's in college, 10 minutes from my house in his own dorm room, and I'm not doing the charity full time, and I'm not writing a book. So it's easy breezy around here.
Right. How do you recharge?
I sleep. I love to sleep. It's my favorite thing, is sleeping late. Sleep late.
Yes. I love it. I love
That's
it.
my luxury.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm the type of person who I believe that I can learn anything if I try, if I want to. What does that look like for you? Like, at what point do you realize, okay, this is my lane, I can figure this out, or I don't need to be good at everything. Like, what do you outsource? What do you do yourself? That kind of thing. How do you decide that?
I basically outsource every single thing that I can, because the more you delegate, the more you free yourself up, and the more freedom that you have, the more space you have to create something else. So I try to find someone that's better at everything that we do, that's better at it than I am.
I interviewed Sherry Salata last year, and she talked about her story. She wrote a book called The Beautiful No, and how when she reached her mid-50s, she realized that she wasn't ready to slow down, and that society tends to tell women after midlife that we're supposed to kind of be done with our dreams and our own stories. Have you ever felt that way, or like you needed to slow down? Because you definitely aren't, and I love it.
No, my husband always says that what's the next big thing after you quit working? I mean, the death. I mean, there's nothing if you're not working and contributing or doing a charity or doing something every day. What are you going to do? So I like to stay busy, so I don't intend to stop. I like to manage my time better and have more freedom, but I don't have any intention of stopping.
Right, definitely. Okay, here's my final question. And
Okay.
this probably seems silly because uh, you're probably the closest person I've interviewed who is close to this, but, I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Okay.
If you had Oprah Winfrey's money,
Yeah.
and you had to spend it on something totally selfish, what would you spend it on? What would you
Oh,
do?
it'd be really hard because I'd love to help so many people that I know and so many causes that I believe in. But if I had to spend it totally on me,
Yeah, selfish.
there's only one thing, and that would be jewelry. There's no question about that.
I love it.
I'd
I
be
love it.
the Elizabeth Taylor of today's world.
Yes, yes. You always have the prettiest jewelry on. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I mean, I can't tell you how much this means to me. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
of course. I always like to help people when they're like trying to get something done. If I can help you in any way, I'm happy to do it. And very grateful for the opportunity to even talk to you.
Well, thank you, and I hope that everyone tries your skincare because it really, really is amazing.
Well,
So,
thank you. LeaBlack.com or any questions, hello at LeaBlack.com. And I'm on Instagram at Lea Black Miami, Twitter at Lea Black Miami. You're not going to want to follow me on Twitter unless you're interested in world affairs and politics and a little gossip. And then, of course, we're on Facebook and we have the podcast Lunch with Lea that we have a good audience on our podcast. It's fun and it's interactive. So I hope to catch up with some of your audience too.
yes, yes, you're always fun. It's always fun to listen. So, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I hope you loved this episode of Zimmerman Podcast as much as I did. Lea is a treasure trove of valuable business insight, sass, and natural marketing genius. Thanks for coming on, Lea. You were such a blast to interview. Don't forget to tune in to this week's bonus episode of Under the Cover, where we dive into the process of writing and publishing my upcoming memoir, Sleeping with a Stranger, which releases May 7th, 2020.
If you loved what you heard today, even if you liked it a lot, you should subscribe and leave a review. We'll see you back here next time in the Zimmerman Podcast.